This isn't going to be another one of those videos with the 5 top things you need to know about a Tesla. There's a few of them out there already. This video is going to be a really comprehensive list of tips and tricks and hints that I've accumulated over the years of Tesla ownership. I've had lots of them, bought and sold thousands of them now. So in that time, covering Model S, the Model 3 and the Model X, I'm going to run through all these different things which I think are really helpful to you if you own a Tesla or are about to own a Tesla. Hopefully there's a lot of things in here which even people that have had a Tesla for quite a long time will be new features and functions they weren't aware of. So we've got lots to cover. It's going to be a really comprehensive list, but I'll be the first to admit I'm bound to miss out one or two things. And over time, of course, since filming this, Tesla will release a software update with new features and functions. So I want you to comment below if there is anything that you have not seen in this video. And then if that's a useful tip, people can give it the thumbs up, please, and show your support for that. So let's get on with it. Lots of ground to cover. I'll try and make it quite a quick, snappy video. But if you're about to buy a Tesla or you've got one already, I think you're going to find this very useful. Before we get stuck into this, don't forget, if you're buying a used Tesla Model 3, S or X, we have already made videos with complete buyer's guides on those cars. So if it's a used car you're buying, be sure to check out our other videos. You can use the voice command button to do quite a lot of things. This is my favourite. Open butthole. Charge port opens. Right, let me just mention here, when I mention the menu system on a Tesla and I say go to controls, safety and security, controls is a little car icon at the bottom of the screen, and then that brings up a menu on the left and there'll be subcategories there. So if I say go to controls, safety and security, it means push this little car icon, click the sub menu for safety and security, and then we'll be talking about some of the options in there. So before we get into some of the more interesting, useful tips and shortcuts and tricks out there with the Teslas, I want to cover a couple of basic aspects more to do with security first. So especially if it's a used car that you're picking up, is mobile access turned on in the car? Come to controls, safety and security, and there's an option for allow mobile access. Now, if you have just bought the car used and you do not yet have access to the app on your phone, and I'll explain separately how that is gained, you need to really have mobile access off. It could mean that a previous owner or keeper of that car will still have access to the car on the app, and that includes being able to see where the car is, unlock it, and even drive it away. So you want that to be off unless you already have app access to the vehicle. So how do you gain app access? Because all Teslas have connectivity via an app. Well, there's a new version from Tesla now, at least here in the UK, where the previous keeper can transfer ownership straight away online using a web browser. They log into their Tesla account and can transfer the car to a new person straight away. That usually works. There's a few instances where it doesn't, in which case you need to have a new keeper supplement from the registration document in the UK plus driving license and submit that to Tesla. Once you have the email from Tesla to confirm you've got access to the vehicle, you should be able to log in on a desktop browser and see the car there. Then if you log into your app with the same credentials, you should see the vehicle on your app. If you don't, then turn that allow mobile access on, and then you should have the connectivity to the vehicle. So although now it's quite easy in most cases to get the car straight onto a Tesla account straight away, it's not always instantaneous, and for some vehicles it just doesn't work yet. So what I recommend is that any walk-away door locking, any automatic walk-away door locking is set to off. Comes to controls, vehicle walk-away door locking should be off, especially for the Model S. And the problem there comes like this. You picked up your car, you've got two keys still joined together with a tag here, and people drive away. They put the keys in this center console here, often pull the armrest over the top, and then they get out of the car at a supercharger, and suddenly the car thinks the keys are not in the vehicle. This is a bit of a blank spot, and it locks itself. And that's a real problem. Normally you've got the backup of having maybe a phone and you can unlock the car with your phone. Normally you've got the backup if you ring Tesla, you say my car's locked itself, they can check that the car's linked to you and your account and they could unlock it. But if you've just driven away and you don't have that connectivity, the car on your account yet, or the app backup, and your keys are in the vehicle and the car's locked itself, that turns into a real problem. There's not really an easy way around that. So like a lot of cars, you've got keyless entry and exit. And a slight problem that was coming up, and it only really affects certain areas, but like any car that has walk-away door locking or keyless entry in particular, the keys, there's a thing called a relay attack, which makes the car a little bit susceptible to thieves. So what Tesla have introduced was a pin to drive option. Now, pin to drive is useful for some people, maybe not day in, day out, but it's a very useful thing to have on for extra security of the vehicle. Relay attack, and we could cover another video about this, to be honest, is where someone can come to your letterbox, basically you're outside the front of your house, pick up the signal from the key, boost that signal, car thinks the keys are there, unlocks, and people can just get in it and drive away. So Tesla have introduced pin to drive, and that's something that you can enable if you come to the controls, safety and security, pin to drive, turn that on, enter a pin number and have that with the vehicle. Again, I would usually recommend waiting with that until you definitely have the car on your account, but it's a really useful extra level of security. Makes the car pretty much impossible to steal unless it's just picked up. And again, if you've just collected your car, maybe it's been on a transporter and the alarms and motion sensors have been turned off. So in that same menu, just check that your alarm and tilt and intrusion alarm are also switched on. What's also quite a useful thing to do, I've heard of on a few occasions, is to pair the phone Wi-Fi connectivity to your mobile phone hotspot. And the reason for that is, let's say you have an issue with the keys and you need to have the car connected to unlock it, for example, but that car's parked in an underground garage with no 3G signal. Well, if you have the car already paired with your phone Wi-Fi, you can usually still then gain access and enable things like remote unlocking from the app. So that's a useful tip, especially if you park in underground garages with no phone connectivity from the car's SIM card. Let's just talk about using the calendar properly. I think it's something that's really often not recognized or used properly. So in your app, come to your settings page and allow calendar sync. And then in your appointments on your phone or on your computer at the desk, your appointments can put in, but put the location in properly in the location tab in here. That way, when you get in your car, you can bring up your calendar, you'll see a little black arrow. Hit that, the car will navigate you to your next appointment. The other thing you can do that people often don't realize is in your map, whether it's Google or Apple Maps, if you search for a place, you can then share that destination. And then in here, you can share it to the Tesla app, and it will send that location straight to your car navigation. How about that? You can configure multiple driver profiles, and you can set your seat and steering wheel, fine. Now, what I did find useful in a Model 3 in particular was for easy entry, which means you can have a seat in a position that's easy to get in or out of, was to bring the seat back up a little bit, because in my driving position, quite a long way back, it meant I couldn't fold the rear seats down. So my easy entry, it comes up a little bit. But I also create an entry like this called snooze. And that means if I'm at supercharger and I'm going to sit there and wait for 20 minutes for a charge, I can recline back and have a little nap whilst I'm waiting. I've seen entries for McDonald's, working on laptops, so there's lots you can do, but it's a nice little shortcut, and then you can put it straight back to your name to go back to your seating position. Once you've paired your phone up for Bluetooth connection, you can also hit this sync messages. It needs to reconnect, but that means the car can actually read out your text messages to you. This is a CCS adapter, and I think it's a really useful thing to have on a Tesla Model S and X, which don't have a CCS connection by default like a Model 3 does. The CCS adapter means you can use more rapid chargers. It's really the new standard in the UK, but also all the new Tesla superchargers are what's called V3 chargers, and they're CCS only. So without one of these, you don't have access to all the new Tesla superchargers. At the time of filming this, it's £260 from Tesla. It's the adapter plus some software update in the car. So Tesla do need to see the car. You can't just buy the adapter, but I think it's a worthwhile addition to have. If you have a Tesla built before May 2018 and you start finding the screen quite slow, unresponsive or slow to wake up, I would turn off pin to drive. It could be the sign that the MCU is starting to fail. Now, Tesla have extended the warranty on that, so it can be fixed, but if you have pin to drive on and the screen doesn't wake up, you cannot drive that car. So if you see those symptoms, turn off your pin to drive and get the car booked in at Tesla. If it's going to be a really cold, frosty night, I would turn off the mirror auto fold function to stop them freezing in the closed position. Go to controls, vehicle, auto mirror fold, just turn it off. Let's pretend this is a row of superchargers here and these cars are plugged in and charging. When you go to a supercharger, you want to try and follow what's called a urinal rule, and that is to try and leave really a gap between each car. You'll notice that a supercharger, not necessarily the V3 ones later on, but certainly the previous superchargers, is that they have shared power sources. So you'll see stall 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, and so on. If a car is already at 1A, don't plug into 1B, you're going to be sharing the power, which will slow your charge and it could slow their charge as well. So try and leave a gap and so that you're on different numbered stalls and therefore you'll get the fastest charge, called the urinal rule. And don't forget, when you are supercharging, the cars will charge fast at the lowest state of battery. So if you arrive with 5%, 10%, you'll see the fastest charging speeds, assuming that the car is pre-warmed and the conditions are outside are reasonable. If you try and plug the car in when it's still got 80% of charge, it will charge quite slowly. So try and arrive at your supercharger with a low state of charge to really maximise the charging speed. And you wouldn't normally want to stay there beyond 80% state of charge because it just gets slower and slower and slower. And when it is cold, don't forget, with the car plugged in outside your house, if you turn on the climate control to not only warm the car up, it would also precondition the battery to warm the battery up for better optimization. So the car's nice and toasty, defrosted, you can warm your seats up and it will preheat the battery for better efficiency on your journey. Every now and then your Tesla could have a little software glitch. You might see a frozen display, you might hear the radio stuttering, maybe the Bluetooth just won't connect. Well, first rule of IT, turn it off and on again. If you hold both these scroll wheels in, it will do a reboot. So if you hold these scroll wheels in for a few seconds, the screen will go blank and it'll reboot. You can do that whilst you're driving. It's best not to really, but you can do it whilst you're driving. The screen will go off, the ventilation will go off. A few seconds later it will come back on and that usually fixes a lot of the problems. A lot of Teslas are fairly prone to excessive wear of the inner edge of the tyres, particularly the back tyres. So do make a point to quite frequently check the inner edge of your back tyres, especially on the air suspension Model S and Model X cars as well. The outside tyre could look okay, but we've seen the inner edge wear excessively quite a lot and people just don't realise it. If you happen to pick up little minor bumper scuffs and bits like that, any local body shop should be able to repair that, and the paint code is right here just inside the door shut. The headlights on a Tesla are pretty good, but they do need to be adjusted correctly, and I've seen lots where they're just not. On a Model 3 especially, controls, service, adjust headlights. You can actually adjust it yourself, and we're going to be making another video soon on just how to align the headlights perfectly for much better visibility at night. I'm not going to go into too much detail about autopilot, there's other videos on that, but really my advice is just a bit of a word of caution. Autopilot is a brilliant thing, it's very clever, but you need to learn when to use it and when not to use it. It really is mainly for motorways and dual carriageways. You've got to remember it's still beta software, you've got to remember you're still in control of the car. I have known people get their new car, drive it away, put autopilot on, expecting it to go around roundabouts and through town. It doesn't really do that yet. So spend a little while just getting used to autopilot, what it can do, what it can't do, and just be very careful. You're still in control. The more you get used to it, the more you'll find when to use it and the better it can be. But just be a little bit careful with autopilot.
So another useful tip on the Model S is, you have the media app where you can control the volume, switch songs, play and pause the songs. This button will only come up when you're in the car. If you get out, it will disappear. So when you have the UMC charger connected to the car and you want to disconnect it, you can just press this button here. So if you have a 7-seater like this one, you have a button here with which you can close and open the tailgate. So on Model S's, the boot floor can actually go into the wine cellar. There you go. So in order to charge on a V3 supercharger or any other CCS charger, you need a CCS adapter for the Model S's and Model X's. A good tip for this kind of adapters is to leave your name and phone number on the adapter in case you forget it on the charger. as it can happen. So if you have someone on your Tesla, this is a really helpful function if you want to take the car out of a garage or maybe a tight spot. And to activate that, just go into the summon menu and press forward or reverse. And there we go. So if you just want to quickly navigate home, you can just slide to the right, and it will take you home. This works on all models. So on Model S's, if your car runs out of warranty, make sure you check the DRL lights over here, because these can go wrong. If the car is under warranty, Tesla will replace them for you. If it's out of warranty, you're going to have to pay about £1,200 for one. So on Model 3, you also have an emergency brake, and you activate this by holding the P button until it gets activated. So on Model 3, if your 12-volt battery runs dead, to open the frunk and to get to the 12-volt battery, you'll have to remove the towing eye cover, and then pull these cables out. There we go. So once you have these cables out, you'll need a jump pack starter to give some current to the frunk, and that will pop open the frunk, the door, the bonnet.
For the Model S and X, all the rubber inserts are easy removable to clean, even this rubber mat at the bottom, this little mat here, and a pair of needle nose pliers. You can pull out the cup holder insert, and they've also made these armrests removable to clean underneath here. They just clip back on, make sure it's lined up properly, and then yeah, easy as that. On the Model 3 performance wheels, there is actually a hole to remove the centre cap, and they do give you a little tool, but the easiest way, 2 fingers, and like that, no scratching at all. And for the hubcaps, the best way to do it is to grab each side of the spoke and just pull. And on the new performance wheels, you simply insert the pin, which we haven't got, but I'm just using this, and pull. There we go.
So there's quite a few different things you can do on the Tesla via the voice control. For example, you can ask it to, set seat for Oompa Loompa. Oompa Loompas are really short. Perfect. That's not true, you can't do that. But what you can do is you can do stuff like you can say, my ass is cold. Oh, that's a shame. So you can give a number of different voice controls, some of which we've already covered, but you can say things like, my ass is cold. And that'll turn the front seat heaters on. And the rear seat heaters. I'm assuming it thinks I've got a really big ass that takes up all the seats. You can say things like, my wife's body is hot. Then it reduces the temperature by 1.5 degrees. Incidentally, my wife's body is hot, but she's probably going to be really cross with me saying that. Let's go to work. And then it will navigate to work address. You can say, let's go home. There is actually about 170 different voice controls you can give. If you have a bit of a Google, you'll be able to find a lot of them. They're being added all the time. And it means that you can control a lot of the functions, you know, the sensible functions on the car without having to use the pad or, you know, break concentration from what you're doing. So it's a relevant feature, even though Tesla has usually added a little bit of a fun element to it. Okay, so a little practical tip. If you find your charge port won't open, there is hidden up here a little release cord that you can pull. You'll hear it activate just then. The car is actually fine, so the charge port will open when I touch it. But yeah, should you find it stuck, there's a release cord around there.
So if you're stopped at traffic lights or in a queue of traffic, if you press hard on the brake pedal, that will engage hold mode. So you can let your foot have a rest and engage the accelerator when you want to go again. The doors on the Model X have got sensors all around here, so even if there's a person or an object stood near the door, will sense that I'm here and not open fully. Continue to open, so you can get in. Another cool feature of the Tesla is the fart mode. You can pick which seat you want the fart noises to come out of, and when you indicate as well. If you have a special friend with you in the car, you can also put on the romance mode. So cozy. If you're feeling festive, you can pop on Santa mode. The Model X even has its own dance, which we'll show you now. Very good, Tesla, well done.
Teslas receive regular updates. In order to get these, you must be connected to Wi-Fi, which you can do from here. You can put your Tesla into camp mode, which keeps the air running until the car reaches 20%. So if you plan on sleeping in the car, that's a good option. If you plan on leaving your dog in the car, simply select dog mode, shut the door, and off you go. Teslas have the regen braking system, so when you lift your foot off the accelerator, the brake lights will come on, so the cars behind you get a warning.
So there we go, there's a few tips and tricks for you, and I hope that's been interesting and useful. I also recommend joining a local owners group or national owners group. You'll have one, there's Tesla owners groups throughout the UK certainly, and they're always a great source of information and advice. Even if it's the only thing you use Facebook for, other than subscribing to our page, then they're great places to ask a question, get advice, get help, and find out about new things and new supercharger locations that are opening. So a Tesla owners group is a great source of information worth joining. In the meantime, thank you for watching. Thank you to all our subscribers. If you're not subscribed already, please subscribe to our channel. Hit the little bell icon so you see new notifications. If we've missed out tips and tricks, please comment below with any useful information you have there, and we can all thumbs up when they're good tips that we find useful. And maybe we'll make another video in the future adding them into it as well. So don't forget to like our Facebook page, Instagram page. We're also on Twitter. And in the meantime, I'll say goodbye for now. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.